Hey, you guys, it's me, Kianna, coming at you today, and I'm coming at you early this morning as I am getting ready for my day. Well, I wanted to come at you guys. First of all, I know many people flocked over to this video. Why? Because of the title, because it said something about my marriage. And although I do many videos and videos to encourage people, videos to uplift people, I think that many people want to flock to things that they can pick apart. Many people flock to things that gives them something extra to say. Many people flock to videos because they want to throw daggers, slurs, and all of that. So, if you don't believe me, watch the view count of this video. It's going to be a huge amount of people. And it's not going to be mainly the amount of people are not going to be here to encourage or uplift. I know that. And obviously, they don't know how YouTube works because you don't have to be a subscriber for me to benefit from you running to my every video. So, um, yeah, I'm just going to leave that at that. But I wanted to talk about some things. Some people will get this, some people will speak to them. Some people, it will encourage them, as I've always done. And some people will give them a new insight. Okay? This is why I'm doing this video. I wanted to talk about something I really don't talk about too often. I've been there and I've done that. And even though I've only been on YouTube now for 2 years and 2 months, my anniversary was August the 14th. Even though I've only been on YouTube doing videos for 2 years, I've learned a lot in that process. I believe that we as adults, we are to learn. We are to grow. We are not to stand in the same spot as we were back then. And I think that over in my videos, I like to go back on my videos. I get comments all the time, even still on videos I did 2 years ago. And I like, for myself, I like to be able to see the growth, the journey, what got me to the place I am today. And I used to talk about my marriage. I used to talk about my marriage. I used to talk about it because it was a way for me to vent. I used to talk about my marriage because it was a way for me to get together with the girls and we all talk about things, like we do. And I use this as one of my outlets to do that. Well, I've learned from that because even though I came on and I shared with good intentions, it was not perceived as that. It was not taken as that. And even though some people knew I was coming on with good intentions, they had alternative intentions or um, alternative motives. So I've learned that that is something that I just wanted to stray away from. But at the same time, I've always, in my own way, tried to uplift or to encourage marriages and people that have struggles in their marriages and people that are growing together. As you recall, you guys, many of you have been watching me for a long time. So you know that, Daddy and I actually got together at our lowest point in time. We met in a homeless shelter. And the struggle of us getting to know each other, because remember, we went on our first date and 30 days later we was married. We have a wonderful story, a wonderful testimony, but in that testimony it is pain, it is struggle, it is um, times that I've fallen, times that we've fallen together, and we got back up together. So in that testimony, it's not always, and more often, it's a struggle inside of that, because you can't just get over the mountain without struggling to get up it. You understand what I'm saying? You don't just magically appear on the other side. There's a struggle. There's a process to get there, and that's what lies in our testimony. Well, I wanted to discuss some things that I hope help, I hope encourage. Our marriage is not perfect, okay? It's not perfect by a long shot. There are some things that Chuck still needs to improve on. There are some things that Kianna still needs to improve on. But I genuinely love Chuck. I genuinely care about Chuck. See, when we married each other, it wasn't because of any other reasons other than we really, really felt that God was speaking to us. You all know that we met in the homeless shelter, but we met in the Bible study. And we both were praying for husband and wives, and we didn't know it. And when you genuinely look at someone, not for what they offer you, not for what they have, but genuinely look for their qualities, their personal qualities. When you genuinely look at their real value, not their monetary value. I'm talking about their real value, their character, their morals, their values. When you really focus on that, and then you get married to someone, you fall in love with those qualities and that person, that is something that will sustain you through all the struggles, the process that you may have to endure later on. Because when you look at and focus on a man or a woman for all the wrong reasons, when you look at and focus on a man or a woman for reasons that are superficial, when those things fade, you have nothing. I repeat, when those superficial things fade, you have nothing. What do you really have? You look at a chick, or you focus on, and one of the things that you fall in love with her is about her butt. Okay? She gains weight. She has a couple of your children, and her body doesn't bounce back. What do you have? Because that was your focus from the jump. When it changes, what do you have? You focus on what that man makes as an income. That's one of the things that draw you to him. That's one of the requirements you have. Well, guess what? When his income changes later on in life, what do you have? What do you really have? But when you focus on someone's qualities, their real heart, their real character, their morals, their values, how highly they think of you, and how high they place you, when they see your worth and value that, even beyond superficial matters or measurements, when you have that, when struggles arise, those things stay. Those values, those morals, how he places you on high, not through his mouth, but through his actions. Those things are what stay. Those things are what don't fade. Those things make you stick it out and make it worth your while. So I'm saying this to say that if it ever appears easy, if it ever appears that we don't have issues, if it ever appears that we are not flawed together, even as individuals, including myself. See, sometimes we as women, we only want to see the man's flaws. But we have to also look at things that we have um, done, things that we could have done better. We have to also look at sometimes we are broken and don't even know it. Sometimes we are scarred and don't even know it. And with that comes a certain mindset. With that comes certain issues. With that, sometimes we take those issues, that brokenness, that hollowness. We take that into a relationship. Sometimes when we don't even know it. Sometimes this is unconscious. Okay? And we take that into a relationship. And sometimes when we know we are so cared for, when we know we are so loved by that person, genuinely loved, placed high in that person's mind, and he honors you not only through his words but through his actions with his morals and his values and things like that, sometimes we sometimes we sometimes we just don't fully sometimes we turn to that person to fix those things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes, even when we don't understand it, even when we don't realize it, if we're broken and when we find out we're broken, sometimes we turn to that person because, after all, that husband takes good care of us emotionally, not just financially. He takes very good care of us because, remember, he places you on high. He loves you with his whole being. Okay? So sometimes, being that we're taken care of, sometimes we look to him to take care of that as well. Sometimes it just automatically goes to that. But guess what? We don't be fulfilled, or we don't feel fulfilled sometimes, because he can't fix that brokenness. What he can do is love you through the process. What he can do is place you high. And what he can do is always cradle your heart. But he can't fix that brokenness that only God can fix. He can't fill that hollowness that only God can fix. See, sometimes God allows us to have these things so that we can turn to him, so that we cannot turn to man, not even our man, but turn to the man. See, that hollowness is placed there for a reason. That hollowness, that emptiness is placed there for a reason so that he can fill it. So that he can fill it. So when we turn our eyes even off of our husbands, when we turn our eyes off of even man, our own man, the person that places us high, the person that loves us with his whole heart, when we take our eye off of him and place it on God first, then that void, that hollowness, that pain, all of those things can be healed then and only then. But see, sometimes we as women, we'll turn and say we're not happy in our relationship. We're not happy with that man. We're not happy with him because it's something that we're not happy with inside of us. Sometimes it's different things. Sometimes it's taking something from another relationship and carrying it over. Sometimes if it's valid, because sometimes you endure so much pain, or you endure a deep level of pain, that it's valid that you're going to, it's going to linger a couple of years later. That's valid. That's valid. But what we need to do is, before you make those rash decisions, before you look and say, he doesn't love me, or he's not giving me what I need, before you do that, look at yourself first. Now, I'm not saying that every instance it's not a situation where he's not doing what he needs to do, or he needs to step up to the plate even more. I've discussed that with Chuck a many times, because I have certain requirements, and we should. You have to treat me a certain kind of way. Yes, that's what needs to be done. But at the same time, are we putting these expectations on that person, that husband, that wife? Are we putting those expectations on them because of something that's inside of us that's broken? And if so, he's never going to be able to meet those measurements, because that brokenness can't be fixed by man. So sometimes we'll turn, like I said, and say, "Or I'm not happy in this relationship." But are you not happy in the relationship because he can't fulfill something that he's not supposed to fulfill? I hope this speaks to somebody's spirit, because it speaks to mine. Because even though, like I said, my marriage is not perfect, even though sometimes I feel like maybe I should throw in the towel, I'm human. I'm human. But those qualities that I seeked out in the beginning, that I saw in the beginning, that I acknowledged in the beginning, and that I fell in love with in the beginning, guess what? Years later, through it all, are still there. That's what sustains us. So, in the midst of the struggles, in the midst of the pain, sometimes we need to not just point that finger, but realize that when we turn it around, there's other fingers that's pointing right back at us. When we understand that concept and when we actually embrace that, we're able to self-evaluate, because anything worthwhile is worth trying different levels or different avenues or different methods. That's if it's worth having. If you come to a place where, the the cons outweigh the pros, then you can proceed to do what you need to do. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel complete, whatever you find that will make you be productive in life, and whatever will make you not have to hold on to pain that you may be enduring. But it's worthwhile to look at what you have done, what you can do, and why you make the decisions that you make. Because when it's all said and done, you're going to take that same issue, those same struggles, and that same pain, hollowness, and emptiness, and brokenness. You're going to move on from him, and you're going to take that same pain, that same hollowness, that same emptiness, struggle, and that same feeling that you're feeling right now. You're going to take that into the next relationship. Sure, when it's all fun and new and exciting, you're not going to feel that. You're going to think that, hey, I overcame this. I overcame it. And I overcame it with him. Or I overcame it through him. But those are temporary fixes. Because you truly can't overcome it through any man. You truly can't overcome it in the flesh. You truly can't overcome it with just self-evaluating yourself and put some notes and journaling. You can't overcome it long term that way, because you have to get to the deep root. The deep root where a journal can't get. A deep root where a therapist talking it out can't get. A deep root where asking him to step up and do something more, that won't fix it. Because this is a deepness. This is a deepness that then dug its way into the core of you, all the way to the nucleus, a place that man can't reach. So I say this to you. You tried everything else. You've tried fixing it. You've tried making it better. Why not try God? I've been there. I've been there more than you guys know I've been. We've been there. Together, we've been there as individuals. Now, Chuck's a man. He doesn't discuss as much as, or as openly as I would. That's sometimes what men do. But when you are a wife, and when you have a oneness with that person, when you have a connection that far supersedes just sleeping next to the person, I'm talking about a deep spiritual connection. When you have that connection, you get to a place as a wife where it doesn't have to always be discussed for you to know. So I'm saying this because not only I want to speak to you guys, but I have to sometimes remind myself these things. Again, my marriage isn't perfect. It's far from perfect. But our love is perfect. I hold him high in my mind. I hold him high in my heart. This far exceeds being married to him. This far exceeds laying next to him. I love Chuck as a person. I love him as a person. If I wasn't with him, I still would love him. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's that level of love. When you have that level of love, it's worth sitting down, evaluating, and seeing what you have done, or seeing what you have contributed or not contributed, and seeing what actually is the reasoning behind some of the things that you've done, some of the feelings that you've had. I'm not saying take all the blame. I'm not saying that. If you really understood my video, you would know I'm not saying take all the blame. What I'm saying is that, remember, we as women, we endure so much. We juggle so many things. And when you've reached the age like we are, 30-something, 40-something, you've been through some things. Things that has hurt you to the core of you. Naturally, you will carry some of that pain. Naturally. But supernaturally, it can be fixed. Fix it. Work on it. Remember the reasoning behind your holy union. Now, if you are not a believer and you haven't, you don't have a spiritual union, a holy union, this video isn't for you because it's something that you can't relate to. But for those that understood, for those that can relate, for those that aren't here for silliness, aren't here to see, oh, her marriage falling apart, for those who aren't here to gossip, to be childlike, to be immature, to show their true colors, for those who aren't here to get excited over maybe something happening negative in my life. Well, for those people, I guess you were fooled. Because whatever I go through, whether it's ups or whether it's down, whether I make a decision that's wrong or whether I make a decision that's right, I'm always going to place God first. And that man next to me is always going to place me high. And because of those two things, I'm always going to fix whatever needs to be fixed. Seek help with whatever needs to be improved on. Because I love him genuinely. Because he loves me genuinely. Because he loves me not through his words, but through his actions of placing me high. So I guess you were sadly mistaken when you came here for those reasons. But for those who are struggling, those who have pain inside that no one knows about, those who have been broken, this video is for you. I hope that this video speaks to you as it has spoken to me. See, I don't always come to you guys with videos that I want to encourage or uplift or inspire you. Sometimes I come to videos and do videos because I want to encourage and uplift and inspire myself. So while I'm doing that for you, know that I am doing it for me as well. On that note, you guys, I love you all so much. Talk to you guys later and be blessed.